The elder one is eligible for the Grolsch People's Choice Awards, so please don't forget to vote for your favorite films at tiff.net/vote. We would like to thank JAR Pictures for providing us with this film. Geetu Mohandas is an Indian film actor, screenwriter, and director. She has written and directed the short film, Are You Listening?, and the feature, Liar's Dice, which was nominated for a Grand Jury Prize at Sundance. The Elder One is her second film, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce her to the stage, Geetu Mohandas. Also joining us tonight, we have producer Anurag Kashyap.
Namaskaram, good evening everyone. Happy Onam. Just want to say something real quick. It's an overwhelming feeling for me because 20 years back, my father brought me here to this beautiful country as a landed immigrant to have, with big dreams and big goals and ambitions for his daughter. And today I wish he was alive to see that my film is world premiering here in Toronto. And I just want to correct something. Muthon was supported by the Sundance Lab. It did not win any Grand Jury Prize. Yeah, anyway. And having said Sundance, I just cannot not say my mentor who's in the crowd, Paul Federbush. I love you and thank you for being here. And my brother and my family and everyone is here, so I'm excited. Okay, now to do the intro, I'm going to call upon Anurag Kashyap.
Thank you so much, TIFF. It's such an amazing thing to always be here, to somehow find a way or a movie to come to TIFF. It's a beautiful audience here, and I want to. The most of our crew is here. Vinod, who's a producer, Ajay Rai, people without whom this film wouldn't have been possible. They're sitting in the crowd. They'll all be up here for the Q&A afterwards. Nevin Pauly, Sobita Dulipala, Roshan Matthew, Shashank, and Melissa Thomas. Everybody's a riff who's helped us with the film so much. Everybody's here. They'll all be up here later for Q&A. And I'm the last one to come on board on this film. I'm so proud of this. Thank you, Geetu. And she stole my cameraman from me.
Thank you, thank you.
And we also have joining us tonight, Nevin Pauly.
Shashank Arora. Sobita Dulipala. Melissa Raju Thomas. Roshan Matthew. Riff Dagner. And my amazing producers, Anurag Kashyap, Vinod Kumar, and Ajay T. Rai.
Thank you all so much for joining us in Toronto, and congratulations on this incredible film. You guys have done a wonderful job.
Thank you, thank you.
So, Geetu, I just want to start with you, and really from the beginning, where did this idea for this story come from for you?
It's been 2.5, 3 years, so I don't exactly remember the exact point, but I realized that for my first and my second film, it's always about search. And now I'm wondering, what am I searching for? So maybe I'll find an answer in my next film. But it started with this, the idea of search and a little quaint little island. And then it just took off from there when it was selected as part of the Sundance Lab. And they told me, they believed in me and the script, and they just told me to just write. And that's what I did. And I don't know, like one thing led to another, and this is it.
And so one of the most interesting things I think about this film in general and that weaves into the story is the play between two languages that you have, Hindi and Malayalam. So how was that writing process for you and choosing these characters? What was that like?
Well, the language was just part of the script. I mean, it was not intentional that I wanted it in Malayalam and in Hindi, because the character had to come to Bombay. So it just happened to be Hindi language. And I just couldn't think of anyone better than Anurag Kashyap to do the dialogues for it. And I'm just so blessed because I've known him forever. And I was so scared to approach him to do the dialogues. And I'm really glad that he liked the script and he said, I'll do it. And then he came on board.
Did you want to add anything to that, Anurag, as to why you decided to help Geetu with this?
It's like Geetu said, we have known each other forever. We have a common link between us, who we fight over. Rajiv Ravi, who's not here, who's the cinematographer of the film. And it's always a war between me and Geetu that who gets Rajiv.
He's the first wife.
So, nothing, it's just organic. If like Geetu does a film and it needs anything, I have to do it. It's just there's no question there.
Yeah, I need in my next film as well, by the way.
And then, so let's get to the cast. So how did you cast Mr. Niven Pauli here?
Well, Niven, apart from the fact that he's my neighbor and I keep bumping into him in my elevator, apart from that, I think, I wanted somebody who is very unassuming for the character. I wanted somebody who is believable. I want somebody who has a certain sense of innocence, and I think his smile says it all. And
that smile.
and for me, I mean, that it was a very easy choice to make. And the fact that he's a superstar helps, to get funding.
I think so. Okay, so I think I'm going to open up the questioning to the audience now. If you have to wave your hands, because I'm in the spotlight here. Let's see. Yep, just down here.
Yeah, hi. Mm-hmm. Hi.
Mm-hmm. So the question is, and the compliment is, you spoke Malayalam incredibly well. So was it difficult for you to learn the language or to do this role? Oh, sorry.
You're talking about Hindi.
Hindi, sorry.
The dialect.
Yes. Yeah, the dialect, yeah.
See, the language we speak in the film is the Lakshadweep Malayalam. It's slightly different from the Malayalam we used to speak in Kerala. So we had a coach for the Lakshadweep language, and we had a coach for the Hindi as well. And I think we spent a lot of time for learning the language and to get the dialect right, because we are doing a sing sound in the film, and we want to do it as believable as we can. Yeah.
Yes, Made in Heaven, 2 members are here. Yes, that's Sobita and Shashank.
Okay, another question from the audience. Got anything? Yes. Oh no. I don't know that. I don't know that you have to answer this question. But
I do.
Yeah, would you like to? So the question is to explain the ending, please.
The tail end or the ending? Well, that's a long answer then. What is the confusion? I understand it's open-ended.
Yes.
And I understand that your answer will be very different to mine, and will be different to all the hundreds of people sitting here. So do you want to know my answer, or do you want to just leave it to your imagination? My answer. My answer is... What's that? Right. No, the tail end, see, in this time and age, in this era of globalization where there's, materialism and this instant gratification of success and fast life, the poorer people or the lesser privileged people, they come to the nation's attention as a statistic when something happens, when a crime or tragedy happens. And I'm drawn to telling stories of this downtrodden, decadent space and people who live that life. And this is a reality. So the tail end or the ending that you see in the film is the reality that happens. The confusion, how the siblings are quite similar with their sexuality, or the fact that this is her fate and this is how she has to live her life, or the fact that Akbar had to die because there's no other way. This is the statistic and this is the reality. So that's my answer.
It's a fantastic answer. Okay, yes, just in the middle here.
Allah.
The question was, what do you think Akbar's last
Moments,
thoughts or feelings?
what
and
he
moments?
felt. It's funny because when I write something, I shoot something, and then Anurag helps me edit something else. But I would really love to know what Nivin felt when he said Allah. I think it's going to kill me. Do you think it was a finality of everything for you? Or did you just feel that you just came back to your faith in the last moments before you died? And did I just answer your question?
No, I basically felt it's like, I couldn't be with my sister. I couldn't rescue her. And I was a failure in my past, in my the island episode, and it's repeating in front of my eyes. So I felt I can't call anybody for any help other than Allah, God. That's it.
Oh, yes, just down here.
Could you talk about some of the challenges you had in terms of the location that you chose, both for yourself and for the actors as well?
So the question was, sorry. So the question was just what the challenges were for the locations that you were shooting in between the island and the city, and yeah.
The island was very comfortable because it's a very, very small island. It's a quaint island. And they just welcomed us like family. There was a lot of prep that went on with Kamatipura and that space, because I think it's been years, way years later, that some filming actually happened. And we chose to use the real location with real people, and we just placed the actors. So it was just like going in there like a kind of a guerrilla style shooting, and it was just like a small crew of 10 people. And people didn't really know that we were filming. And of course, some people knew in some scenes, but it was more like just go in there, and we use an A7S II, which is a very small, tiny camera, which is not like the unit, or it was not huge, there's nothing. And my husband, who's the DP of the film, he's great without using lights and without the accessories or anything. So we could do it very minimalistic. And so the actors were labeled, and they just went in, and suddenly they just start saying the dialogues, and people were like, what the hell is going on? And then that happened, but it was nice, it was so organic. And after a point, they welcomed us as part of them, and that was great. That was great.
And okay, so we can go down the line. I think the question is, what was the most kind of challenging or difficult scene for you all to act? Because they're all quite emotional and physical roles, and there's a lot of non-dialogue moments too. So maybe pick your scene.
For me, the most difficult scene is it where I tell Shashank that it's my sister, I want her back. So that scene we shot in a very limited time. So the light is going and it's getting sunset when we have to shoot it. But the emotions which I felt during shooting that scene was something which I can't explain. This guy is like which I said before, he's a big failure in his life before. He escaped from the island to lead a different life. Again, he's like leading the miserable life, and he found his sister in Mumbai, and right now he want to protect her, but he can't. And that's a moment where he explains to his friend that this is my sister, I want her back. So that's a moment which I felt like I don't know, that's the scene which I felt the most difficult to do in this film.
For me, it was a difficult movie to make, and I'm not like Salim at all. I'm nothing like, So I'm not like, fucking, that's so maybe secretly I am, but no, it was difficult for me. Those locations are difficult. Shooting with the DSLR in that, you're dying, man. It's really hot, and people are actually hitting you and shit. And so you're just really stressed out, and it was really tough for me. And I had a really supportive cast and crew around me, which I think, it's just an incredible job pulling it off in those sorts of situations. It's really hard, and I want to cry every day. I'd call my mom and be like, I don't want to act anymore, I'm fucking... So it was a whole, difficult movie here.
Well, you did wonderful.
There wasn't a single particular scene that was difficult as such. I think just being in that place, in those locations, amongst people who went about life like nothing was wrong. And those women were actually some of the kindest people I've ever known. And it was shocking because I remember I wanted to, I read the film, the script, because he was doing it. And we were hanging out, and I read the script, and I was so moved that I was hounding Geetu to let me test for it. So I showed up in that street dressed like a prostitute, taking pictures of myself. And I spammed her phone with pictures until I got cast. It was a day that made me realize that dignity is a luxury that very few can afford.
Sorry, just to add to that, and they're such beautiful people because they're so unapologetic, and I love them for what they do. They believe in it, and I love them. All the women in Kamatipura.
Yeah. They're the strongest and the softest women I've ever met, truly. That left me, that really was character building for me as a person. Yeah.
For me, well, emotionally, I think one of the challenging scenes was me confronting Akbar when he came to speak to my brother again after he'd been beaten up. I think for me, as a sister of someone whom I knew is homosexual, but my society doesn't allow it, so I was constantly conflicted because I want him to be happy, but also I don't think that he could live that way. With Akbar. So that was challenging. But a funny story, the scene where actually Musa comes to beat him up. Oh no, then not that. No, so Geetu actually didn't tell us that it was a take. She said that this is a rehearsal, we're just doing a rehearsal, and then that's what you see up there.
No, that's because
it was a one take.
That's because all my actors, I don't really direct them. Like, I just tell them to be, and then I kind of just see like what's going on, and then so after a point they started directing themselves. So that's what happened. So the scene between Musa and Amir's character, the confrontation that happened. So what has to happen in my writing, in my head, which makes sense to me, is that Musa beats up Amir. Simple. So he started arguing with me, saying, that's not right. How can that happen? I have to beat him up. Look at me. And I'm like, why would you do that? So he said, no, because Amir is, the lover. I've got to beat him up. So I said, okay, fine, do your thing. And then I went out and I told everybody, it's take. And I told him it's a rehearsal. So he wasn't prepared.
Told us both
So the
that
moment
it's
he turned, he
rehearsal.
went whack. And
I
then
was
beat the
also
crap out of
surprised.
him. And I got my shot, and he was upset the rest of the day.
So that was funny. No, because I didn't expect it, and suddenly he's actually hitting him. I'm like, I thought this was rehearsal, but
Can I just add that the cut on my face wasn't makeup?
yeah, it wasn't. And I just want to say that physically and technically, one of the most challenging scenes was the underground water sequence with that mermaid tail. And it just made me realize that there's so much that we see in cinema and on screen, and we don't exactly realize how difficult it is to shoot those things. So that was a really challenging thing for me to overcome. Yeah.
All of my scenes were in Lakshadweep, and all of them, 9 out of 10 of them were with Nivin. And almost all of them were difficult, but they were really satisfying also, because I remember the two of us had a 3-day workshop before we started shooting the film. And the first 2 days, Geetu would cast me without having watched me in anything or auditioning me. She just makes these decisions. Thank you. So the first 2 days of the workshop, I was really struggling with Amir and nothing was working out. And the third day, and in the end of the second day, I remember we tried a scene out, Nivin and me, and we finished it. I knew it had gone terribly, and I looked up and I saw Geetu sitting with her head in her hands. And I was hoping for some miracle to happen on the third day, for some tiny thing to start working so I could go into the biggest film that I'd ever been offered, feeling like I had something going, or I had some sort of victory. And on the third day of the workshop, I did have that. So we had this one scene that did go well, and Geetu seemed happy with it. So I started breathing easier. So this is how almost all the scenes in Lakshadweep went for me. We'd struggle with it till a point, and then at some point Geetu would look at us and she'd seem happy, and then I'd feel more comfortable. So.
But I have a question for both the guys, which it puzzles me. But can I do that? Can I do a question? It's the last question, but can I go really quick? So the water scene between both of them in the water, and they're fighting and this tussle. It was totally different two briefs that was given to both of them, and both of them did nothing of that. They just chose to do their own shit. And after that, they were fighting who is going to get behind. And they were like, no, I will get behind. No, you will be in front. And I'm thinking, why? Just do it. And I want to know, what was that about? What's with the behind, guys?
After you.
No. That scene just happened organically, and
Nivin wanted to be behind.
but Roshan took over. It just happened, and I know that the camera was on, and I have to behave, as Akbar. So I just, nothing was planned in that scene, even though this is the first time I'm playing such a role, and me and Roshan, I think we didn't plan anything together for that scenes.
We really didn't plan anything.
Yeah.
The water was really cold. The only way to stop him from splashing water on me was to get behind
some
him.
reaction. So
Yeah, and also Nivin doesn't know how to swim. So, and the water was this much, and he was struggling in that water.
that's wrong, I guess.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. We have run out of time. Okay. I'm so sorry, guys. Guys, we just have another. I'm sorry, we have to go. Thank you so much, everyone. And there was a lot of laughs in it. And if you love the film, please vote for it at tiff.net/vote for the People's Choice Awards. Thank you. Thank you.